Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and I have been listening to you guys. I've had a high request in terms of how I managed to travel during the pandemic, so watch out for this next video. Okay, so I have my phone with me so that I don't waffle, because there is a lot to definitely share with you guys. So straight to the point, I decided to go to Dubai during the pandemic. Whoop. And I'm sure you guys can tell through some of the content that I've been putting out there and my vlogs, and I hope you have enjoyed them. So firstly, the first rule is that if you want to travel to Dubai, you need to do a COVID-19 test in the UK, and that has a time limit, so it has to be done 96 hours before departure. And right, that's quite tight, so technically it's only 4 days. So I was traveling on Sunday. I had to make sure that I needed to get my test done on Wednesday and my results back within that 96 hours. So I did a lot of research, and there's different ways. So there is the private way and there's the NHS way. On the NHS website, it did state that for travel purposes, they advise you to go private. So I was like, all right, then I'm gonna have to go private. But I do know that there are some people who manage to go through the NHS way. I guess it's up to you guys in terms of how that can work, but because on the site it just told me that I had to go through private, I just went through private. And I think from safety net side, from my side, is that when I would get my results back, knowing that my results will come within 48 hours, having that assurance that I'll have a travel certificate with me and everything. So I just said, you know what, let me just do it, and let me not just try and beat around the bush with this one. So that's what I did. After that, I forgot to add, I know that there are things that are a bit unclear on whether to go private or NHS, whatever, but I would advise you guys just to do some research on how did I decide who I wanted to go with. That is a whole nother palaver in itself. So there are so many private companies online which offer the COVID-19 test. Great, right? So I was doing a lot of research. I even signed up to one, booked an appointment. Then I was told that they don't do a PCR swab test, they do a PCR saliva test. And I'm like, huh? So only to find out that there are different types of COVID-19 tests. So there's the PCR saliva tests, and then there's the PCR swab test. And in order for you to enter Dubai, you have to take the PCR swab test. They're very strict on that. So I did a little bit of research, and PCR swab test, it's proven to be the most accurate test to test if one is positive or negative. I was like, oh great, so I have to do a PCR swab test. So I had to cancel that appointment that I originally had already done, organized everything. And I knew some people out in Dubai, so I DM'd one of the guys that I knew who was out there, and he gave me some really good advice, and he mentioned Pure Health. So for those of you who don't know, Pure Health is a healthcare and medical supply company based in the UAE. But when you research online, Pure Health does not just come easily like that. Like, it comes up, but in terms of the way to book a PCR portal does not come up just like that. And I'll try my best to put all the details below. So I literally had to Google stuff like Pure Health, COVID-19 tests, labs. Like, I literally had to play around with how I entered in the search engine. And funny enough, I saw some laboratories that came up, and then through one of the random laboratories, I saw like a little link that led to the Pure Health portal. So I was like, whoop, I made it. Pure Health portal, once you get access to it, what happens is that you have to put some details in. And good thing about Pure Health portal is that it basically shows you all the laboratories that they work or collab with in the UK. The UAE has designated laboratories in the UK that they work with. For me, it was just the most accurate route. So what I noticed is that it worked out a little bit cheaper. They give you like a ID number. Once you've signed up, you have to pay up front and everything. So I just took that risk and paid up front. The laboratory that you have selected, you have to now call them up, or maybe go on to their website and now book an appointment and give them that Pure Health ID number, and it's all sorted. They know, and they just book you in an appointment. And the assurance of that is that you get seen quickly, and you get your test within 24 to 48 hours. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I only had 96 hours, which technically is 4 days. I'll give you guys a little bit of story time. So because it's 96 hours, I calculated it to the T. So I got to the laboratory now, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to do my test. So it feels like you're at the doctor's, and when they see you early, you're like, great, they see me early. So me, I was just like, oh, did the swab test. The swab test is the most uncomfortable thing anyway. But did that, and then I walked out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I realized I'd done my test 15 minutes early. So that was a whole palaver. So I started like messaging them out of the 96 hours window, because technically I was 96 hours and 15 minutes. So I was just a little bit like getting really anxious and getting really scared, because obviously the UAE don't play. If I'm that worried about it, I would have to pay for another test to just ease off that worry. And I was like, oh my days, like I can't afford to pay for another test. I've gone private, and it's very expensive to go private. So I was like, what can I do, what can I do? So I called Emirates, told them the situation. The lady was very firm and stern and was just like, no, like 96.15 minutes, it means that you're breaking the law. And I was like, yep, okay, I understand. She was like, your best option is to change the dates of your flight. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So with Emirates, and this leads on to why I chose Emirates in the first place, Emirates allows you to change your dates as much as you can for free. Things may have changed now, things may have changed completely. Guys, I changed my flight. I changed it, did a mistake, and I was like, I'm still like, I haven't calculated properly. Changed it again, and they just changed it. It was just amazing. So I literally just changed it to the day before. So instead of me traveling on Sunday, I traveled on Saturday instead, meaning it's like a shorter window. So I'm not out, I'm now within the 96 hours. And I literally got my test results on Friday, the day before I was traveling. I got the certificate, printed it all out. So there are like conversations that they do accept the digital, but on the website it says bring paper version. So I just said, let me just bring that paper version and have my digital version as a backup. So that story time, oh my gosh, I don't want anyone to ever go through that, because that was just horrid. But I'm just glad that Emirates gives you that flexibility. And I also like the fact that Emirates gives you COVID-19 cover. So if you were to catch COVID-19 whilst in Dubai, then you're covered. And I paid a little bit more extra to travel with Emirates as opposed to other airlines, which were a bit more cheaper, but to me it was worth the money. The service was excellent with Emirates. Like as soon as I got in the plane, like I had a whole row for myself, and I guess social distancing measures, and to me I was like, oh, this is great, no one's sitting next to me. Let me not forget this. So UK, you have to take the COVID-19 test before you go, and then coming back. So if you're traveling from Dubai back to the UK, the same rule apply. It has to be a PCR swab test. It has to be done 96 hours before departure, and you have to have your certificate with you. I already factored this in within my trip, so I made plans and I made sure that action that. And the great thing with Emirates is that they have dedicated labs out there in Dubai where they give you a discount. So if you fly in with Emirates, you get a discount. So over there it costs what, £30? So to me I was like, that is great compared to the UK, which is within like 100 and something. So I was like, right, that's great. So I made sure that I went to one of the labs there, and I also did my test out there. And guys, it was long, man. It was so long, 4 hours. 4 hours, I was just waiting for ages. And then only to find out, like, because a friend of mine, we were like kind of liaising with each other, because she was actually coming down to Dubai ending of that week, and she kindly let me know that, you know, the rules and regulations have changed. You no longer need to take your test in Dubai in order for you to get back into the UK. And I was like, oh damn, if only I kind of knew a little bit earlier, because I had already done it. But thank God it did not cost me that much to do it, because I think if it did, that's when it would pain me. I think what pains me more is the time I had to spend in the hospital, because it was just forever. And on that note, I guess that links to you having to always stay on top with the rules and regulations on the Gov website, because it is constantly changing. What I've told you right now may have completely changed. Like even within my trip, it changed. So just make sure that please, 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 disclaimer, everything that I'm letting you know, it may have changed by the time you decide to travel to Dubai, and I guess with any country around the world. So please don't quote my video as like advice and the only advice that you seek. Make sure you research, make sure you're on top with the rules and regulation on the Gov website, and make sure that you are, whilst you're away, you're also checking in as well constantly. So I really hope that this has helped. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you support a sister. Until next time, guys.